Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. This is a day in the office, February 6, 2026, at approximately 3:25 p.m. PST. Now, as you well know, I don't bother putting a schedule together or a plan together for this because I'm literally simply working in the office and building and putting things together to make them work. Now, where am I here? That's always a fun question to start with. So, what I've got, like I've been busy all day today, pretty much. I actually got up late this morning. Well, more to the point, I went to bed early this morning, or late this really late last night. Like I was up at 2 o'clock and up until 8 before going back to bed. Because, well, frankly, my schedule gets a little screwy on occasion. And what is this? Oh, don't think those have been worked out. Gotta double check those. That is my list for today. Philip, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You're actually here with the goal. And again, if you've got questions, if you've got input, topics, whatever, as a matter of fact, do I have that? I do so. Okay, so I can work with that. I won't actually be on Positive Perceptions tonight because at 9 p.m. tonight, Pacific, I go on SOR again. I was thinking about it. It was funnier than heck, really. A decade back, I went on to Spaced Out Radio on a potentially one-shot deal. And what ended up happening was here I am, a decade later, still going on the first Friday of every month. And I'll tell you, that has been a ride and a half. Well, I finally got things organized here, sort of. So I've got a list of things. I've got my list. Now, this works. Okay. Friday's going actually not bad. The nice part about that, Philip, is when I got up like 2 o'clock this morning, and my son happened to get up and asked if I could make sure he was up to go to school, right? Because he'd had a rough night, so that worked out well. I stayed up. I'll tell you, I was falling asleep in the chair by the time I got back to bed. But the reality of it was that I managed to stay up long enough, then got back to bed, and turned around, and the rest of my day has gone absolutely beautiful. Now it's a question of making certain things happen. So, what do I got here? And again, I've got all these little receipts from odds and ends I work with. And I'll tell you, if you're planning on building an empire, if you're planning on making things happen, it is critical. It's absolutely critical that you stay on top of it. That noise you're hearing is a paper shredder. So what is that? Oh. And this is what I mean. I end up working and doing a whole pile of things all at the same time. So where are we here? IVE expansion, IVE receipts. Right there. I'll tell you, the best laid plans in the world are absolutely useless if you don't actually implement them. Net result, I've started things a lot of times, and this is why I tell people, it's great to have a plan. And the list method works like an absolute charm if you actually pick it up and do something with it. Yeah, doesn't it though? Yeah, the robot's sitting behind me here. Can't say it that way. There we go. Yeah, Nathan from the Quantum Show pointed out that this little configuration of shells over here, right there. He said it looks like a robot. And once he told me that, I'm like, I cannot unsee it now. You know, but yeah, it does. The funny part about it, like, Philip's just saying it sounds like I'm feeding a hungry robot badger. You know, and the reality is that shredder is probably a decade old, but it still works like a charm. Kind of like I'm sort of a decade old. And I've got to go through that thing and eliminate the stuff that I don't require. Now, what's that? That's a label. And again, one day I will get things organized in a much more direct fashion, but for the time being, and licensing, linguistics, I think that goes in here. Go all the way back here. Oh, where are we? There we go. Trying not to remove my hand at the same time here, because that can be really annoying. Okay, that takes care of that. I have very limited floor space right now. I honestly don't know what, like, Phil's just asking if my son is studying global water engineering, global aquatic engineering. I think right now, well, I know he's working in a inside city limits right now, but I don't know where he's going with it. And in all fairness, and it's a good question because I really haven't asked if he's got any ideas to where he's going. Last I knew, he was finishing this part of the studying because he's at class right now, and he'll be studying until he's got another 3 months. 3 months? Yeah, we're in February, so yeah, 3 months. In either late April or early May, he goes back down to the coast to do more practical, and then he comes up for his final term in order to get things organized and actually start his career. Then he'll have his degree, which is so much better than what I've got. My life, my world is a whole lot different than his. But I did have an interesting conversation with a chap today. Another marketing company got a hold of me, right? And so many of them get a hold of me. It's like, oh, we want you to pay this much money so we can help you. I'm like, it's not going to happen. Don't get me wrong. I am one of the things I am doing right now is literally designing a contract that I will be happy with. Then I'll get a lawyer to organize it, to make it legal. But for the moment, it boils down to this. As far as my son goes, right now he's enjoying it and he's finding new things to get excited about with it, which is an excellent thing in my eyes. I don't think that saved me any money. It did not. And since it didn't, I don't require that piece. The fact of the matter is, at least he's got a goal in mind. He's got a goal in mind, he's going after it, and that is the critical issue. Now, here we are. Let's take a look at this. Okay. What I've got here is again scrap of paper that this time I actually remember to put it where it belongs. Doctor. By doing this, I can get rid of the scrap of paper. And the phone. And whoa. Call the main one because I think that's all I've got to have. And then here we are. Just trying to fill out an address in my book, like in my phone, so I actually can get rid of the scrap of paper here. Like I said, I'm removing all junk. Okay. Take that, we go done. And we are good to go. That always works out nicely. Now let's see what I missed here. Okay. Whoa. Oh, yeah, that's cute. Yeah, Philip, I'm just looking at this. Have any of the marketing people offered to take payment in the form of revenue sharing? That way, they only get paid when their advertising is affected. It's funny you should mention that because that is exactly what I'm going to be drawing up for a contract, saying you get the right to sell, and this will apply to anybody. You get the right to sell, in whole or in part, as is the work I've done. Out of that, and this is the percentage thing I've got to work out, they will get the majority of the percentage of the net profit. Right? If I say book selling at this price, you sell it, here's the profit level, you're getting, and I'm working on the profit, it'll be over 50 to the person doing the selling. That much is clear. But I got to run the numbers and make sure it's right. So I'll put that together and go, here's the only contract I'm signing. You do this, that's fine. That said, this is where this neat little box here comes in. Word of mouth. Okay. I've actually got a way to track it. And I'm just rebuilding it to make sure I've got it tracked right because I ran into some things I spotted. You know, this is word of mouth advertising. You do the work, you get to have the majority of the profit, right? That way, and it'll simply, like, they do the work, the order comes to me or comes to my head office. In time, it'll literally be my head office, and we'll fill it out from there. But the kicker to it is this: they place the order, I track down where it went, where it goes, and they get paid the majority of the profit from it. For instance, if if the profit is a $10 profit, okay, because I'm keeping the cost of the books as low as I can get away with. Okay, I have to, right? So there's a couple of things I got to work out. Maybe somebody's going to want to buy a bunch of the books at a discount price, which I don't have a problem with. But again, I'm going to set the contract up for it. And then they will get, whether it's a corporation, a company, a person, doesn't matter. Because it's all the same type of people. Okay. Now, what the going rate, none of them have ever suggested profit sharing. It will increase your sales. And it has never netted me even a single inquiry. Joe, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You are actually in with the silver. And what do we got? Jake, how you doing? You're in with the bronze. Up. Well, I just read what you wrote there. What you just wrote there, Jake. And I'm not quite certain how it fits in, but that's okay. I don't worry about too much. The way I look at it, this, much like positive perception, this has to be a safe place for everybody. Now, I don't know much about technology, but I know when I get annoyed, it dies. So I do my best to keep things stable. But where it comes to advertising and that side of it, I am a dinosaur and a half. One of the biggest things that I have found is that when I'm dealing with things, if somebody asks me a question, I'm just going to come right out and tell you what I see the answer as. I won't lie to people because I just can't, frankly, remember half of what I tell people. What is that? Did I ever do that? Really wonderful. Oh, 10:06. Okay, that can be put away. And those ones I gotta check. The reality of it is this: so many people post broadcast negative stuff about how bad the world is, and I agree, the world's a mess. But the reality is, if we don't actually do something about it as individuals, we're pretty much hooped. And this is what we've got to focus on. I do agree the world's a mess. However, I will tell you, you take a look at my apartment, or my office right now. It's still a bit of a hiccup. Where are we here? Did I miss somebody? No, not that I can tell. Did I miss somebody? I'm just going back up to make sure I didn't. Not by the look of it. Oh, I went over there. Now, the neat part about it is I take a look at what I'm working on and go, this is what I require. This is what I'm aiming for. And if it matches what other people are looking for, this is a good thing. If it doesn't, this is just what worked for me. That was wrong. But it's the broadside of a barn with a baseball bat on occasion. Now, let's see what we got here. The office is clearly in the right shape as far as that goes. Let's see what the light's doing. It's not fall over in the process. What do you figure? Now, the more I think about it, the more I realize, I asked a couple of people a question, okay, and I got exactly the answer I was expecting. You see, I got thinking about it. Skip, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You were actually in with honorable mention today, Skip. I was diagnosed a while back with diabetes. Okay, no medication, no backup, so I ran out of medication, and I went, okay. Clearly, for me personally, the medical profession has dropped the ball big time. So I changed my diet, I changed my sugar intake, changed the spices and what have you I was cooking with because I wasn't cooking at all. Okay. And my blood pressure is doing fine. I feel great. Yes, my right leg is still screwed up, but here's the kicker. I had developed neuropathy in both feet. Neuropathy meaning the nerves were dying. Well, you know, so, from my standpoint, you know, I looked at that and went, okay, I've done my research. I've talked to people as much as I could. Nobody seems to have a cure for neuropathy. Okay, for the degradation of the nerves in the extremities, which, by the way, apparently can kill you. It's a way I haven't tried dying yet. I'm going to keep it that way. Okay. However, 3 weeks ago, I had both my feet were numb and really off kilter. Now my left foot is working properly without the numbness. I don't know about you, but this is a step in the right direction. I am a firm believer that anything your body can create, your body can also, if you think about it right, work with the right nutrients. And I don't mean, if you're working with a doctor and the doctor's work is working for you, stay with them. The odds are they know more than you do. Okay. In my case, I just take a look at the rules and go, well, things haven't worked so far, so I'm going to do what I can. Yo, so with that in mind, I mean, and I will tell you, this is the combination I use. I have no idea if it'll work for anybody else, but I'll give you the list, not in 10 minutes. Okay. It's what I cook with. Okay. And it seems to be helping. All of these medications or all of these spices I'm about to list. Yes, if you get them pure, they are a lot stronger. Okay, I don't worry about that. I buy dollar store spices. Okay, you can figure out how strong that is. But I literally take a bowl. I mix 2 teaspoons of each of these spices into a bottle or into a bowl. Okay, garlic, ginger, turmeric, cayenne, cinnamon, nutmeg, and oregano. Okay, pour them all into a bowl. Doesn't matter what order because you're just going to stir them up anyway. Susan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yo, so I put those all into a bin. I mix them all together, all into a bowl. Mix them all together and then pour them all into one spice container. Now, this is what I cook with. Thus far, my blood pressure is down where it belongs most of the time. Okay. My pulse stays at a stable level. Yo, I'm not having problems with sugar crashes. I can't take my own glucose reading. I've got a glucose meter. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know which. I heal so fast I can't get my hands to bleed. Works out kind of nicely. I don't actually have to worry about bleeding to death. But with that in mind, I do keep this thing handy anyway. That's regular table salt. Because if I do get vertigo, a fingertip of that works like a charm. Now, what did I do with that file? That's going up there. Those I have to call afterwards. Oh, those are sheets that I've got to take a look at. So I'll pop them all down here. That way, because they're on the table below, I know I've got to go through them. But they're also not smack in the middle of the way. Did I? Thought I brought it back here. Apparently, I did not. Okay, well, since I didn't bring it back here, I'll have to deal with that later. Because I'm not going back up front right now. Where are we here? Yeah, yeah. Philip is telling us in central British Columbia, which is where I am, okay, various wild edible plants and spices can be foraged, including wild ginger, stinging nettles, wild mint, and caraway. Now, I only have one hiccup with that. I will not argue those are all available. There's a reason I don't leave my house much. Because I set foot outside of recognized areas, I get lost, like right now. However, that list, I'm going to make a note of it because I'll look into it. Because if the wild ones are there, they're definitely better. And the natural food, the fact is, if I can get the natural ones, they're, in my opinion, you don't have as much chemical with them, therefore they're better. Okay, but I'm going to take a look at this and see what I can come up with. Of course, I was told by a friend of mine, don't get ginger powder. Well, right now, that's what I've got. What he suggested was get actual ginger root and grind it yourself, which that I can do. What do we got? Wild ginger, stinging nettles. So I'm just making a note of these to look into them and see what they're working on, because I am bound and determined that I am going to do everything functionally possible to get my health back where I'd like it to be. Never mind what the doctors say. Where are we? Oh, okay, that's where this came from. And I definitely appreciate you going the extra step there, Philip, because much as this is not, this aspect, my health is not, if you will, part of the mainstream of building an empire. I drop dead, I can't build an empire. It's kind of a weird setup that way. Stinging nettles, wild mint, and caraway. See, because I've got a lot of stuff at home, and since I started, it was neat. When I went into the hospital with the blood clot and got trapped in there by dying, I mean, it really screws up the whole day, right? Donna C, how you doing? Glad you could join us. When that happened, I used to think I was a pathetic cook, absolutely disgusting, until I got into the hospital. Now you compare me to the hospital, and I'm dang near a gourmet chef. By the way, Philip, I have that list on my pad now, and I will look into it, see what it works with, because my first priority is definitely getting my heart working properly, my energy levels up. My sugar, I've already cured most of. I just quit eating. I quit drinking 2 liters of Coke a day, or in some cases more. Matter of fact, I was just talking to my wife today, and even she said, I'm better off just buying a small bottle of Coke. This is where that thing about bulk buying is not necessarily a good thing. Now, we take this. Yeah, it really is, Philip. I've had, and the neat part about my heart is it's actually a problem way back here in the middle of the brain. It's not the heart that's having trouble; it's the brain signal, and that's another issue altogether. Let us see here. How we do that? See how many I've got. What's that? Whoop. AV, which is 52. 52 and 22 is 74. Well, gotta start somewhere. Now, what do we got here? Donna, that's an excellent idea. I always looked at the mini ones, and this was my mistake. But that's an excellent idea. Unfortunately, they sell them in 6 packs, which means they probably go in a hurry. But I do agree with you at this point. It's better to buy those small things because if you only buy the one little bottle and bring it home, you only got the one to drink. Now, snack food, I don't have a problem with. I can leave it sit and it'll sit there for weeks. Okay. But pop is another problem for me. Okay. Fire away, Joe. Joe goes, paranormal question. A very small white light, if not a vehicle or a human at night. Well, I know for a fact it wasn't human or a vehicle. Okay. I'm just waiting for the rest of the question. Yeah, I will. I'll answer the question as soon as I see it. I suspect I know what the question is, but I'll wait until it gets here before I do anything with it. Okay. Now, this becomes what I'm doing here is rebuilding my rebuilding my database. This is definitely not a complicated system. It really boils down to just knowing what you're doing. Now, where are we? Yeah, the rest is coming there, Philip. You know, the thing is, like what I'm doing here, word of mouth advertising literally means I figured out how to actually track it with an inexhaustible account number thing and set up. What was that? H I. This is what is called really tedious work, but very necessary. There we are. Oh, okay. There we go. Joe, the best I can tell you is it was likely what you were seeing was likely because it was small, probably Verosic. It could have been a Umion. Okay, both of which are they are energy beings that are literally optically observed. Okay, now There's a couple of other possibilities, but with what you've got there for a description, that's the best I'm going to come up with for the moment. But one thing's for certain, neither of them are a problem for you, as it were. With that in. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, the other possibility is you actually were witness to a soul, depending on what its actions were. You know, it's kind of neat the way the things work. You know, one of the neat things about it is around a gravesite there. You know, people say graveyards are so quiet. I'll tell you, not when you see the dead. They are not quiet at all. And by the way, much as I am focusing on the living, the dead I'm talking to all the time, quite often that becomes an interesting conversation itself. There we are. That's the first batch, or the first cycle is more to the point. But like I said, I'm enhancing the whole lot, or I'm rebuilding the whole thing, and then just putting them in place. So we've got the account number there. Then we end up with, what did I do here? Put the account number in the corner. Okay, and then put it there. Yep. Okay. You know, and of course, because I've got my office straightened out, it's actually very easy to sort out. And now the other side of this. And we repeat it because the whole trick to building a word of mouth database is making certain that you set it up in the right fashion. You know, by the way, I'm probably halfway through putting February together. And again, it really boils down to trying to keep things organized, you know, in order to get ahead. You know, the fact is, if you're changing the way your life is going, you've got to know where you're standing. And frankly, most people don't. Here we are. Even if I get this done, this part of it done, I won't be finished WOM until later because I gotta go out of the house to pick up more cardstock because I don't have any left, or I won't in a minute anyway. This is what is called the tedious side of working in the office. But it's something that by my actually focusing on this, you know, by my coming in here regularly, it literally gets me focused on what I've got to be getting done. I'm going to run out. That's unfortunate, I think. Looks like it. Yeah. Hopefully I got one more blank card. I'll know that right here. Nope. Well, that is unfortunate. Literally one card shot. Well, that is unfortunate. However, very necessary. I got that where it belongs. So I put that there. That sets my one box up. Now, where were we? Where are we here? I am curious right now. Up over there. Okay, now how about if we refresh that and see if we're doing anything different? Nope. And that's okay. The reality of it from my standpoint is this. I'm building something, and I call it co-creation because I'll tell you, it's been your guys' input that has made things so much easier to work with. Because there are a lot of times when I get to the point where I'm going, why am I bothering? Now, don't get me wrong. You guys have made it very clear why I'm bothering. And it's not really a bother at that point. Okay. Do I got any here? Maybe got one more. What do you think? This particular database here is why I don't worry about people hacking my database. Good luck if you're a computer programmer hacking a database built on paper. Good luck with it. I'm thinking you might run into a hiccup. But all of that is all there. Okay. I'm not seeing a blank here, so we're just not going to worry too much about it. Check the other boxes. But 1 second, we go over this side of the room. Let's get down. That's a different type of card. Okay. So we know what we have to pick up. So, with that in mind, we take a look at the way your world is. And like I said, you don't actually have to know where you desire things to go. What you've got to figure out is the same thing I did. Am I content with the way my life is right now? And the reality is, I'm not. Okay. Now, what do I got here? One thing I will tell you, the books that, as a matter of fact, which one am I working on? Should take a look and see what I've got in here, because it's the one that I've got to get started on next. Does this have... Okay, these ones. Oh. I should probably look at that. How many different ones do I have here? Different book titles, that is. I know I've got to get Y12 done. As soon as I am done with this stream, I'll be doing some more work there. Let's get back on the right tab, shall we? There we are. Oh, I did not need that. Okay. I haven't got that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 4 out. I've got 9 here. One of them won't make it, in all likelihood. But I've got 8 already set. Now, here is a list of the different Believe in Your Sin books that are coming out. I'm working on. I just haven't figured out which order to work on them in. There is right there. This is the newest one that just hit the market. I gotta check with Storm and see if he got it to get it on the website. But this particular one is the one that is now available in physical copy at $20 Canadian, shipped anywhere in the continental US. I'll have to get back to you on other ones because I gotta look into shipping. But this is Believe in Your Success and Follow Your Dreams. Okay. This is number 4 out of the series. I've got 9 more that I've got listed here, but I think I've got one that doesn't quite fit. These are only, if you go to the stream at the top of the, actually, well, if you go to the link at the top of the stream, you'll find buymeacoffee.com/InnerVoiceJ. Okay. This one is just $20 Canadian anywhere in continental US. When I get the order for it, I give myself 3 business days to get it out because, well, let's face it, getting to the post office can sometimes be a pain in the neck. But I've got them in stock. Okay, these are literally the tools that I personally use to get where I am. This is why, much as I've got no viable income, I mean, yes, I am, last year, Inner Voice, my company, generated just shy of $3,000. Okay, now that's not enough to live on. Because if you think about it, oh, I didn't bring it back. Let's just take a look at the reality of that. 28 divided by 12. Whoops, that was wrong. 2,800, which is just a ballpark. Divided by 12 means I was bringing in 233 a month. Okay, to cover, from Inner Voice. Now, 233 doesn't cover much, but it has kept food on my table. Okay, when that number is up to 2,500 a month, then I start turning this whole thing with the word of mouth advertising, with charity, with all of that, goes into play. Okay, but the reason the 2,500, and this goes for all of you who have your own business, this is why I built this. Okay, these are the tools I'm using. And the nice part about it from my standpoint, I'm looking at it going, not do what I say. What I'm saying is, this is what I did, and it worked. Okay, I am digging myself out of a crater built by not paying attention to money. This was a bad move. The reality is, as soon as I can get it on the PDF, I will. But here's the thing: I'm a firm believer at this size. Okay, you can actually take it with you if you'd like to, and it's small enough. Each chapter I write in all of these, I write them with the intention of them being standalone. What, pray tell, fell apart? Well, that was interesting. Oh, now I know what it was. Okay, but each of these are the same ones that are the same tools I personally use. This is why, and I've already started this in Positive Perspectives in the free magazine. Okay, covering information on these books. Okay, things like what do you ask? Like this will literally tell you the steps I went through. Okay, not the least of which is you ask simple questions. Do you desire to be successful? Right? What is your purpose for attaining success? What is your plan by which to attain your success? Do you have the persistence to see your efforts through? And do you have the patience to put in the continuous effort? Because if you're not putting in the effort, it's not going to happen. Okay. And I love the people that go, oh, just think positively. I agree. Thinking positive is absolutely necessary. However, thinking positive has never gotten anybody anywhere if you don't get your tail feathers off the couch. Now, let me see. Like, I really don't know which one's going to come out next. I do know that I've already got things. I'm not putting out this one's next because it depends on when things hit properly. I do know that I will be working with Return to Paradise, which is the third installment of the Ildebakian Chronicles, and Races of the World second edition. Okay, I've got to answer that today, as a matter of fact. Contracts and what have you that I got to look at, go over them, make sure I know what I'm doing with them. What's this? But the more organized you are, the more likely you are to succeed. And so many people have not figured out that you don't have to know where you're going. You really don't. All you got to know, and this goes against everything people have told me, all you really got to know is, are you content with where you are? If the answer is no, then it's time to change it. The way I figure it, yes, I could make a bigger book. Okay, and I've seen a lot of self-help books that are very big. They're 300-400 pages. The thing is, they are so verbose, they say so much, or more to the point, they say so many words, right? And a good third of the book is, read about these people that are successful, right? You read about them, and I'm like, okay, I don't require knowing that Bill Gates is a multi-billionaire, okay, or multi-millionaire, or whatever the heck he is. I don't have to know that. I've got to know I can barely keep a roof over my head. I'm not kidding on that one. I literally come to the end of the month going, did I make enough for rent? Okay, now let's see. Go to this particular file. Okay, last month, what did I have for income? Last month. Now, remember I mentioned I averaged last year $233 a month. Okay, this year, January, I brought in $239. This is not a major amount of money, but it does mean I've got company growth. And that is kind of a critical issue. Okay, so what I do is I go, here's the rules here's the steps I took. And I'll tell you, in each one of the steps, there is a reason you don't desire to do it. I'll virtually guarantee it. Okay. Now remember, I've done my best to make it very clear with these books, with the Believe in Your series, with those, okay, they are all interconnected. And I've already got a major book set up for when all of the little components are marked, because every one of them will contribute in part to what you're doing. And I'm telling you, the other thing that I'm doing, and I'm already enlisted for it. Okay, as a matter of fact, Neat little part here. I got the business license done early in January. The physical copy showed up in my apartment the other day. Okay, you don't have to in Canada, from my understanding, you don't have to have a business license if you're not making $30,000 a year. Okay, the reality of it is, it feels more successful if you do. Okay, this is why I've got business cards. I've got, the bookmarks, the books, you name it, right? And I am looking at bringing T-shirts into the mix. Okay, but I'm being very cautious on how I expand things, because the reality is, the first thing you gotta decide, especially if you're going, like, I'm building an empire now. Bear in mind, your empire may be nothing more than just your house. That may be it. Okay, I'm not the one to tell you what size you should be. I am the one to tell you my inspiration has always, for as long as I can remember, come from a chap by the name of Colonel Sanders. You know him, or more to the point, you know the company he built, Kentucky Fried Chicken, also known as KFC today. Okay, he started with one chicken stand when he was 65, from my understanding. Okay, and from what I gather, well, that was different. From what I gather, he turned around, had it open, and he opened it up, and then closed it a couple months later because people wouldn't do it his way. I'm building an empire my way, but I am absolutely drawing on your guys' input for what is necessary. Okay, or what will be beneficial. Okay, so from my standpoint, I figure I'm building the publishing side, but I've talked to so many people that said, "Oh, I wrote a poem when I was younger, and I tried getting it published, and they told me it wasn't good enough." I'm not the one to tell you whether it's good enough. I'm the one to tell you, here's what I will publish, here's what I won't publish, but I'll be danged if I'm going to tell you it's not good enough, it's not long enough, it's not written well enough. Not my work. Okay, there are things I will not back. Like, I won't put my name on them as publishing goes. Right. In other words, and that's simple. I do not and will not, even down the road, publish adult entertainment. Sorry, guys, I am very much in favor of family entertainment. Things that everybody can read. Now, I will tell you, with the Ilderbockian Chronicles, I wouldn't recommend a 7 or 8-year-old read them. They'll be able to, but we are talking about post-apocalyptic and violent. Okay, but it doesn't have anything in the way to speak of, anything in the way of adult entertainment or explicit, adult description. I mean, the closest it comes to, at one point in The Birth of the Wolf Pack, which is the first book in the trilogy, okay, there is one section where they're rescuing a group of people, and Jeremiah is doing a head count, and he's looking at it, going, "Okay, he starts off, he's counting them up. There's 7, there's 10, 12, 13, 15, 18. Okay, where are the other 2? Right? And then it pans out and it says, then he spots the bushes swaying back and forth. That's as close to explicit as you get. And he just sits there and goes, "Oh, well, there they are." Doesn't interrupt anything, doesn't go over there. That's where it drops. Okay. So this is why I call it science fiction, science fantasy. The other neat part about it, if you've already got a copy of Races of the Worlds, Races of the Worlds covers the data information. It basically is an encyclopedia, okay, of various different alien races, alien and ancient, okay, but it covers their society and what have you. In the Ilderbockian Chronicles, I've taken some of those same species and organizations and brought them to life, where you start to see in an individual individual personalities. And yes, you know, considering I built Jeremiah, I put a lot of my own personality into it. You know, I've got little problems with Jeremiah where, he'll be sitting there, he's working with something, and he picks up a drink, and it's empty. Ever do that? You pick up your coffee cup or cup of whatever, and you look at the bottom of it. There's nothing in it. You go, oh shit, and you put it back down and carry on with what you were doing. Okay, this happens regularly. Okay, I'm sure you've probably gone through this. Now that's set to go there. What is this page? This booklet? See, I got a stack of scratch paper there that I work with, and that is just more scratch, so that works out well. Over here we have stuff. That's the stuff we got to look into. One of the nice parts about it is I take a look at the way that my life is going, and I go, okay, I finally got an idea in my head as to how I'm going to pull things together. Now I'm happy to say, oh, celebration news. My wife, okay, she is a professional flutist, and she's getting into the busking side of things, and just got her first gig, and it hasn't happened yet. It's Sunday I think it's Sunday, 22nd anyway. Let's see here. We go to there. Yep, her first gig in going into public is on February 22nd. Okay, which works out really well. Whoa, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yeah, things are coming together very nicely there, Woo. I mean, we fortunately, like I was just saying, my wife Kira just got a gig, and yes, Woo, I will be on tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific on SOR, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, let's face it, most of the time, well, I started out a decade back doing a show with him, and doing a show with Dave, and it was just here it is. I didn't go on it with any functional expectation. Here I am a decade later, still talking about it. And yes, I am going to be at CaribouCon in September. I don't know the exact dates, otherwise I'd tell you. I don't think. Wonder if I can get that. I am curious, that's for certain. Nope. Where are we here? Oh, you just no wonder I can't find a thing. Spelling caribou wrong. And I will tell you, if you spell it wrong, you're not going to find it on the net. Where are we here? I don't think that's going to help. Nope. So I'm going to have to look into that. I really do have to look up the time for it. Yeah, I wonder. Let us check this. Let's see if that helps. There we are. Um, hmm. That doesn't help. Okay, I unfortunately do not have a date for you. I know it's in September. Where are we here? Absolutely woo. You know, and the reality is, like being on Spaced Out, it's the one show that I literally have adjusted my schedules for. I still have no idea how he manages to track so much of it. But where it comes to what I'm doing here, the reason I do positive perspectives, positive perceptions, and literally come on here on a regular basis, a day in the office, it's simple. I do it here because it gives me the time to focus on the actual business. And of course, once I get done here, then I gotta go and make dinner because we really have to make sure I get my other half fed. She complains that she doesn't get to eat. Don't know. Actually, in all fairness, she really doesn't. You know, I haven't figured out how to get her to complain. I just as soon not find out. Where are we here? Oh, Skip. Wish you weren't going through that kind of hiccup. You know, the reality is, it is such a massive struggle to get ahead on occasion. You know, the unfortunate part is this world is has gone so sideways. This is why I don't focus on the negative. Yes, there's a lot of bad things going on, a staggering number. Okay, but this is why I say right in my magazine, there's a lot of bad things out there. You can find them. You absolutely can. What we are looking at here is making this a safe place where people can look at it and go, we are making headway. And this is why I say I am changing things. Absolutely, Skip, no problem. You know, we appreciate you popping in, and even if you're not directly active, we do. I like hearing from you. Even if you drop me a line and say yes, I'm still dropping in. You know, definitely appreciate it. Because frankly, if it weren't for you guys, I literally wouldn't still be here. You know, the fact of the matter is that once you get an idea in your head, you've got to stay focused on it. Where is need to look into those? There we are. We will resecure those and make them happen properly. My dongle, I've got it put together. You know, but the reality is, I have trouble with tech a lot of the time. Mm, Forgot. Where are we here? We are at 26, 25. Okay, so that works out. So that works. Again, the fact of the matter is, a list method works. This is literally how I get things moving in the right direction. Do I have my. No. Didn't bring it down back. But that's okay. Now, again, guys, if you do have an idea as to what to work with, in the way of topics that require addressing, absolutely let me know if you'd be so kind. That would be greatly appreciated. Sort those out into another binder. The fact is, I am getting rid of so much clutter, so much junk that I no longer require, that it is actually freeing the energy up quite nicely. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't remove the clutter, your energy will clog. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Take a look at take a look at your energy levels, take a look at your mood, and then take a look at your house. Okay, your house or your office. I mean, I absolutely acknowledge the fact that this is a very cramped setup. The sad reality of it is, I can't do a thing about it for a while. Okay, so I'm making do. It's not a question of not planning it, it's a question of not having physically any way of operating. So, I will be dealing with that. Let me see here. I just want to see if this is what I think it is. Yep. Yep. Those I got to deal with. The nice part about it is, and this is why when I wrote the book, Believe in Your Success, first thing you got to figure out is, what do you consider success? For me, success is simple: generating a high enough income that I can actually support myself without government assistance. If they cut my government assistance off, right now I'm on disability and CPP. That's great. But I'll tell you, it leaves you with very little to work with. So my idea of success for the moment is making certain that I've got a decent income that I'm generating, because I'm way happier, and I know this from experience. I am way happier having a way of generating the income because of my effort than I am for somebody saying, here's a stipend because we think you can use this. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I have never turned down money from anybody. Well, that's not true. No, I didn't. I didn't actually turn it down. I had a guy years ago. He came to me and he goes, "Hey, Keith, wait, if I give you $1,000, will you tell somebody this statement?" Now, I knew the guy was lying, okay, about what the statement was. And I looked at him and I went, "Look, I'll take the $1,000." And he goes, you know, he goes, he says, "Well, what about passing on the message?" I said, "Look, I'm not lying for anybody." Right. He goes, "Well, if you're not going to pass on the message, why would I give you the $1,000?" I looked at him, I said, "Because you're nice." You know, and that was literally my response. And the poor chap, he looked at me and he goes, "Pardon?" I said, "Because you're nice." I said, "You're certainly not going to give it to me because you think I'm going to lie for you. I'm not about to do it." Right. Unfortunately, he wasn't that nice, so he didn't give me the money. I thought it was a reasonable trade off. But I will tell you, with the way I've treated the business, it's funny, I opened the business in 2007. Okay. I opened it in 2007. When I did, okay, I didn't put any functional effort into it because I already had a stable income. Bad, 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 bad decision. Okay. And for the first time since 2007, I forgot to pay my post box. Fortunately, I've been there so long, they phoned me up and went, "Do you actually want to cancel this?" I mean, no. I actually thought it was due a month later. So I went down this morning, paid for it, right? So we're good to go. The reason I keep the box is literally because if I do have to move, yeah, no doubt, Joe. If I ever do have to move, I've still got the box there. So the box, the address in the back of every book that I sell is still accurate. So's the email address. Okay. But the other sites and what have you, I've only got the three. Okay. I've only got, I've only got my mailbox, which is staying put until they close it, right? And of course, my email, which I'll hang on to. As far as different sites where you can find things, that's an interesting problem because right now they're there. But Buy Me a Coffee is the only one I actively work with because it's the one that's generating an income. I require a book list for email. So I will deal with that. Of course, anybody getting the magazine Positive Perspectives is getting the entire list of books. Okay. And that works out well from my end. Okay. But it is one of these things I'm working on. I'm only just figuring out how to market functionally. Okay. But like I said, January I made more money than I did in my average last year. So I'm happy with that and I'll carry on growing. Okay, and of course with your guys' assistance, that will become so much easier. Now it's just a case of staying on top of it. And where am I here? Well, take a look at that. And we go. Refresh. Not a whole lot changing, which does not surprise. Doesn't surprise me at all. Well, gonna have to take a look at that afterwards. Facebook. There we are. Just glancing a little bit of stuff on the part of Facebook to see what's going on. I do keep an eye on it, and I know people have all sorts of negative things to say about it. But at the same time, I look at it going, well, there are a lot of negative things going on, but everybody I know of has something negative going on. So I'm just moving forward and seeing where I can go. Okay, where are we? One of the things I find with Inner Voice is I came to the conclusion that I was going to do things my way. This is why I'm building contracts that work for me. Okay. And not the least of which is how somebody else can market my books. Okay. Because I'll tell you the offers I've been given, great big long wordy things that basically they never followed. Like none of them did. Okay. And I'll tell you, I'm done with that side of it. This is why I had somebody phone me up today. And I tell you, talk about dance. No, I'm not going to tell you who it was. It was another marketing company looking to offer to do my work, to do work for me. So that for a fee, he could increase my sales. And I'm like, I told him, I said I was only getting once every, a word every 3 words sort of thing. Because his reception from wherever he was calling was absolute garbage. So I told him to call me back. He never did. I'm hurt. Okay, I'm over it. Oh, well, that is unfortunate, Skip. Hopefully things will work out. I'm the last person to talk to regarding tech. Regarding how to deal with things, I may have some ideas. Tech, not a prayer. I get agitated with the stuff it fries. You know, but I do hope that you'll stay with us as much as you can. You know, I'll certainly be on SOR tonight. Where are we right now? Oh, look at that. Now let me just take a quick peek here. There we are. Now, tomorrow, oh, tomorrow on Positive Perceptions at 8 p.m. tomorrow Pacific, Mike Jones requested that we take a look at the similarities between space events and Star Wars, i.e., the different things that are built out there. Are there any of the races that are the same sort of thing? We'll be dealing with that tomorrow, or tomorrow on Saturday. On Sunday, we're going to take a look at energy vampires. What are they? On Monday, we're going to take a look at educational financial manipulation. We're going to show you how to make money, how to play both ends against the middle, and win. And I'll tell you, I know it works because I do it. Okay. And then on Tuesday, we're going to go to the social side as to why get to know your neighbor. What are the benefits? Don't know what we're doing Friday yet. I got to work that out. But that gives you an idea of what's coming up. Okay. And the thing is, tonight is it's all listener driven. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Skip saying, I was just telling you, Dave has my address. I'll be there. I am glad to hear that. So will I. I just got to phone Dave, and because I do every month, I always phone Dave the day of the event and say, yeah, we're good to go. Or, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of a heart attack. We're going to have to cancel. Or maybe my tech collapsed. But fortunately, that is not the case we're dealing with right now. Okay. We are dealing with a very simple situation of everything's working properly. Keep your fingers crossed. Well, yeah, unfortunately, Skip, that is one of the biggest problems that we have. The way that society is built, something I've always held, okay, is society, when you look at the whole criminal situation, okay, the criminal system was designed by criminals to protect criminals. Okay, now this is just my personal opinion, but take a look at the amount of evidence towards it. This said, it is not the people that are the problem. This is why I will stop and talk to policemen whenever I can. Thank them for the effort they're putting in. At the same time, I will talk to people living on the street. Yes, I'm reclusive. Absolutely. But I will talk to whoever I run into. Treat them exactly the same way as I treat everybody else. Of course, in all fairness, I also respond the same way. you know, one of the nicest parts about when I took a look at when I first built Inner Voice Enterprises. Okay, if you take the capital letters of the actual name, okay, IVE, write them out and squeeze them together so they touch where it's applicable, and take a look at what happens. Take a look at what it looks like. And I am talking using capital letters. Okay. But take a look at the energy behind it. This is why I don't bother telling people, oh, you can't do it. Because I'm a firm believer that you really can. Okay. There is very little on this planet that you cannot do once you've got a plan in place. But you got to remember, you've got to work inside the laws of the land in which you are. Meaning, if it's literally written there, you know, follow the written laws for pity's sakes. I don't know about you, but I don't look forward to any time in the vertical jail. Okay, this is just not going to go well for me. Okay, I also didn't appreciate. Well, I know why they did it. Way back when lockdown happened, you know, the great toilet paper shortage of 2020. I made a comment about my opinion on something that was really delicate, and I got told since it was the first time that they were just giving me a warning, which is why there are things I won't touch on air. You know, but that said, I'm very open to coming on somebody else's site, you know, on somebody else's stream. If you're looking to talk to me directly about questions I won't touch here, bring me on your site. You know, bring me onto your stream. I'll be happy to talk to you. I'm not exactly subtle, and rest assured, even there, I'm not going to answer questions like, what company are you referring to that did this? You're not getting names. So just be aware of that ahead of time. You know, for me, it's simple. I look at it going, I know what I'm doing. You know, I know what I'm aiming for, and I can see it clear as a bell how I'm going to go about it. What I don't have is specifics as to what exact obstacles I'm going to run into. I do know I'll find a way around them, or through them, or over them, or under them, whatever the situation. Absolutely, Skip. Absolutely. And just so you're aware, okay, if you're looking to contact me, there's one of two ways. Okay, if you go to buymeacoffee.com/innervoiceJ, you'll find out how to connect with me. Okay, if not, and I've been told this is a bad idea, but I hang up on people or cut them out if I have a problem. So, easiest way to text me, because this is my cell number. And like I said, if people text me and I don't know who you are and you're causing me a problem, I'm very good at ignoring things. Well, let me see. That's the easiest way to reach me. It's right there. Okay. And like I said, most of the time, if I don't know the number, I'm not about to. I may or may not answer it, but Lord knows I have a problem with it. I hang up real quick. You know, I don't have a problem hanging up on people. I'm pretty quick at it. You know, I hung up on the guy that phoned me today regarding the marketing. I told him something, he ignored me, I hung up. Okay. The nice little part about it for me is I eliminate things that cause stress in my life. Okay. And much as I am not tech savvy, absolutely. Okay. I have no qualms about using the tech that I do know. Okay. Now, with that in mind, I know people have said, oh, you should put your number on air. I'll tell you, it's out there anyway. I keep sending you to buy me a coffee. This is just a shortcut. Okay. But rest assured, I answer it when I have time. Okay. Especially if I don't know the number. Oh, and by the way, before people get a brilliant idea, I'll phone you. I'll leave a whole pile of voice messages. Bad idea. Because I get so many scam calls, right? Most of the time, something goes to my voice box. I never see it because I go into it and I'll listen. I might listen to part of it a week down the road, sort of thing, and go, don't know who it is, click it off, right? And just delete it because I'm just not that interested in the stress. I've had enough heart attacks. I don't need another one. Now, with that in mind, where are we? Are we really there? take a look at this. I cannot wait to get the new glasses. Yep, that is where we are. So, with that in mind, guys, because we are down to the end, like I said, I'm on SOR tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific on SOR. Okay, and that's fully interactive. Bring your questions. The odds are you've got questions. And rest assured, if you've got a question, the odds are very good somebody else has the same question. Okay, so with that in mind, I do hope that I'll see you there. I'll be back again tomorrow with a day in the office. Okay, and again, I don't have a schedule. I just simply go, I'm working on this. With that in mind, I want to say thanks so very much for sharing your time with me tonight. I really do appreciate it. You know, it's just a question of making certain that things go well on everybody's part. Figure if I do that first, then I can go, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Until we meet again, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.